Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Open Mic Discussions. I'm super excited to have my friend Christina and her friend on my podcast today. I've known Christina for many years. She's a great person. She's helped me out incredibly with my Spanish journey. She's also a doctor in psychology, which I'm going to dive into and have her, tell her about her journey with that as well, because it's very fascinating where she started at, where she's at now. For me, it's really interesting because I'm studying my master's in psychology. So I'm really excited to have her on and speak about that as well. So hello, Christina. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, long time no see. I think we have met like for 6 years, maybe.
Yeah, six, maybe a little bit more. I'm not sure.
When did you start learning Spanish?
I think it's probably been about 10 years now. 10 years when I started.
Oh,
Because
really?
yeah, it's time flies now because I'm 41 now and I started when I was like I think 32 actually.
Really?
Right. Yeah.
I was still doing my PhD, right?
Oh yeah, you were working your ass off on me. Always studying.
Yeah, actually, we have never actually met in person, but we've been
No, yeah.
all our friends like for a lot of time.
Yeah, done tons of video calls and for years, and of course messages like through WhatsApp and stuff. Uh and of course you've helped me out because I'm in real estate, so you've helped me out. I do business with clients from Mexico too. So,
Yeah, and
remember
Spanish speakers.
yeah, for all the emails you helped me out with, like learn how to write professionally.
Yeah.
So what was your name again?
Will.
Will. Yes, nice to meet you. So I'm meeting Will for the first time as well. And so what's cool is Christina is from Mexico City, right? And
Yeah.
Will, you live in Puebla?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm from Canada and I've been living in Puebla for 4 years.
Oh, that's cool. You're from What part of Canada are you from?
Alberta, Edmonton, Alberta.
Alberta.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, nice. How do you like it compared to Canada?
Oh, well, the weather's great.
Is it really? It's not cold like
And the food
Canada.
is better,
The
definitely.
food is definitely better too. Yeah.
Oh, and Mexican food is phenomenal. So, here in Texas, we know that's awesome. Yeah, and so what I was saying also is, so Puebla, I was asking you, I think it has like really old churches there, right? It's kind of known for having old churches and stuff.
Yeah. The Cholula area is known to have one church for every day of the year. So there's over 300
Wow.
churches in Cholula.
That
Wow, that's
yeah.
incredible.
Mhm. There's
That's
actually one of them is on top of the largest pyramid structure in the world. So the Grand Pyramid of Cholula is the largest by volume, the largest pyramid on the planet, and on top of it is a church.
interesting. That's right. I'll have to check out I'll have to look I'm guessing they probably have videos on YouTube of this, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'll
That's
check
something
that out.
we've talked before. Like when the conquerors came, they will just like destroy every like religious settlement, and they will just put
Mhm.
churches on top of it.
Put
So
churches
that's
on top.
yeah. Actually, I think you can just like walk through the pyramid in the bottom of the church.
Really? Wow,
Yeah,
that's cool.
the
I want to
pyramid's
go check it out.
primarily covered in dirt still. So, but they have excavated some areas of it where there are archaeological sites, obviously, and you can walk through the pyramid.
Ah, interesting. Very cool. I'll have to check that out. The only parts of Mexico I've been to is like, I don't, it's was it Cozumel, the Caymans, and where else did I go? But I didn't go like to the heart of Mexico. I want to go like Mexico City,
Yeah.
Monterrey as well. That's
Oh,
cool.
you're welcome. Like you, your wife, and the kids. I will be happy to meet little Zoe.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, she would love to meet. And then, so let me tell you something. This is cool. Okay.
Okay.
So, did you see? I don't know if you looked in WhatsApp. I put a picture of my friend. He's from Costa Rica. Came over today with his family.
Oh
Uh,
no. Uh-huh.
yeah, and they live here. But we haven't seen him since prior to the pandemic. And so our son was real young. He's our son's 7 right now. And so today, me and my son were speaking, my friend's name is Juan, in Spanish. And he
Oh,
was
fun.
shocked at how well my son speaks Spanish, since he saw him when he was a little kid. And so it's cool, my son was able to speak Spanish with him. And
Oh, his Spanish is really good. And actually, I'm starting to remember when I met you, he wasn't even in preschool. You were thinking about getting him into this like bilingual school, remember?
yeah, that's right. That's right.
And I will talk to him like on the phone. We
Yeah,
will video with him. Yeah.
many times. Yeah. And I mean, so it's been cool watching that. Actually, the way he's learned has taught me a lot, about how to learn a language and not focusing on grammar, right?
I'm gonna explain you a little bit. So when we met, I was a little bit of a grammar nerd, and he actually will hate grammar. So I'm more like I learn in more like an academic way, languages, and I need to because my English had to be very academic and very technical. But he just teach me a lot of ways you can actually improve your speaking just by using language and just like imitating the way people speaks. So he has a couple of really nice tips. One of them is just like see how people speaks and just like repeat it, try to imitate that tone, which is one of the things that I had a lot of problem because my English was like really robotic. And sometimes people don't get you just because you're using like a different intonation. So he actually, how many languages are you speaking right now? Because by then you were only learning Spanish, but then you started
Right.
Chinese and
Seven languages. Yeah.
which
So,
ones?
obviously English, right? Spanish,
Well,
Spanish, French, Brazilian, Portuguese, Russian, Arabic, and Chinese. Yeah.
and actually we were supposed to start learning French at the same time. Do you remember
Yeah,
that?
that's right.
Just
That's right.
too lazy about it.
Well, but you had so much on your plate with what you were studying,
And now you're living the dream, honey.
Yeah, now you are. Actually, so can you tell everybody about like what you're doing now, but also I want to tell, like after that you can kind of tell them like what you were doing. Like when I met you was interesting, but after we're going through your work and kind of the struggles you went through to get to where you're at. But so tell everyone real quick about like what you're doing now. This is really cool.
Okay, well, right now I'm a psychologist, and then I did a PhD in behavioral neuroscience. By the time I met you, I think I was doing this work at a hospital with the patients who had brain damage and couldn't speak. And after 6 years of that, I got into working with kids with language impairments, which was kind of already in the same line of work. And then I was just like trying to find another job. And then right now I'm working in in a health like institute for workers, state workers, anyone who works at the government have health care, and I'm working in there. 2 days of the week, I will work with HIV patients, and I will do like regular mental health tests, and I will help people who have like mental health issues, which is kind of common in HIV patients because it's kind of hard just to get the diagnosis. And the rest of the week, I will be working, giving workshops to the people who is trying to get into mental health. Because right now we have this change of law, I think it's just last year. And now mental health services are required by the government to be given to like general population. Like we have a lot of mental health issues with the pandemic and stuff.
Yeah.
So, well, that's really good for you and I guess, professionally.
100%.
But for the population in general.
Yeah, it is.
And one of my students right now, I'm really proud of her. I just told him earlier, she's working in a national program with all institutions in the country to actually try to make people more aware about how to take care of their mental health. And the national campaign just started yesterday, I think, or Wednesday. And we're just trying to make people just fight the stigma of mental health issues, and just to teach them how they can take care of that.
Ah, interesting. What, so how many, because you're teaching, how many students are you teaching?
Oh, well, in university, I'm teaching in a master's program. I only have like 8-10 students because they're very small, like groups. But the workshops I have given have reached more than 10,000 people. The whole
Wow,
country. Yeah.
that's impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. It's a little bit hard to believe, but like all those online tools have, reach a broader public. Because it's not only here in Mexico, I can have people like everywhere in Latin America, sometimes people from US who are Spanish speakers who will be like interested in that.
Ah, that's fascinating. Well, so you do like, are you doing like big conferences like on like a Zoom, or do you meet with other psychologists as far as like online or?
Well, since I'm working in the like general department of mental health of this institute, we will like do like a program, like a syllabus, and we will fix, with like national programs, what's going on. If we have like a huge wave of people who are into clonazepam, did you know about that TikTok thing? They were doing this thing
TikTok?
where, yeah. So
No.
kids started getting into that TikTok trend of taking
Mm.
clonazepam just for fun.
What is clonazepam?
Clonazepam, that's
Like is it? I wonder if it's the same thing we just had here, where this kid died from it. What it's it? But it's what is it?
it's an antipsychotic that it's used for sleeping. A lot
Uh,
of people will use it for sleeping, and it's kind of like a very hard medication. So a lot of people were like in the hospital in the ER just because of that. So the whole institute started with campaigns, just like trying to bring awareness about the dangers of self-medication and then
yeah.
psychiatric self-medication. So basically that's how we work. Based on the needs that we have like in the country, we will develop campaigns of training for psychologists, for general populations, and mental health practitioners.
That's interesting, Christina, because so literally last week I sent out a message. I'll kind of give you a backstory here in just a minute as well. So it just happened here in America where the same thing, but it's called Benadryl. Do you know Benadryl? Kind of like I think like we've given it to our dogs sometimes to help our dog relax, right? But it's also for people as well for
Okay.
various things. But so these kids, I guess, created like a TikTok challenge.
Yeah, that's what we have here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so a kid died from taking a bunch of Benadryl. And so I sent it out to our school where our kid goes, and I had already spoken to them. I've been like I think I've sent you some maybe. I've been looking at various studies as far as I sent you some studies for the forensic psychology as well, right?
Yeah.
I've been looking into different studies on the impacts of social media in general, but one of them is specifically on TikTok, where they did a study and found out it causes major depression for various reasons that they state in this study. But so at our kids' school, this happened right before the Benadryl stuff, where my son comes home and he's saying like all the kids are talking. Have you ever heard of the story Bloody Mary? Have you heard about this? When I was a kid, this story was around. It's like a real scary story. And then he was talking about Pennywise, like from the movie It.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
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 I know
yeah.
that.
And then apparently some other kids were talking about some really horrible like rap songs that were, not good. And so I contacted the parents to let them know. And it's a big thing right now because the TikToks is kind of exposing young children to things they shouldn't see, but also cyberbullying is through the roof. I'm guessing you have it in Mexico as well, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And then kids, they had this big thing where I have to look it up again. I know, like, I'm pretty sure Facebook did some kind of thing where they intentionally tried to see if they could get people, like kids, depressed from taking away like their likes or something. I'd have to look at it again.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, so these social media platforms are causing, major problems where even like teenagers are having suicide, problems and things of this nature. But
Yeah, I think that started like before TikTok. I have seen people who just like say goodbye on Facebook and then they just suicide. But
mhm.
actually, what I know, like in the other side, I know that artificial intelligence has been started to get to use to actually notice or to identify people who start having depression or like mental health issues by the way they behave in social media. So
Interesting.
yeah, like of course there's always one side of
Sure.
like the bad side and the good side of it. But I don't know. I just think that technology just bring us like new ways of communicate, but also new, of course, new problems, but also new ways to solve those problems. And I think into artificial intelligence is gonna have like a huge boom trying to solve those.
Well, let me ask you that. So, especially since you're more advanced in psychology, do you think that technology has advanced too much for us? Like, are we too primitive to deal with this technology? Do you think we can handle it, like, mentally?
Mentally, what do you mean? Like in terms of our intelligence or like our like
It's like a different land.
emotional?
Yeah, well, it's emotionally, but it's a different
Mhm.
landscape. Like, for example, a lot of times now people don't know what's real. For example, even with the news, even though I think much of it is done by design, right? So that creates mental instability when you're not certain what's real and what's not real, right?
Okay, I'm gonna talk to you about a couple of brain right now. You
Okay.
know, there's this philosopher that it's called Moran, and Moran who said like the homo videns, like the men in general, will turn from learning and reading to what it's called the homo videns, which means someone who just like it's more multimedia, like they will not actually read or think, they're just gonna through visual stimuli just get like, you know, their minds busy.
Yeah.
Real thing is that was reading like many years ago, like
Mm,
before computers, where TV started. Right now, I just think that people like before TV and any, even before like the first, I don't know, moving machines, uh, there this fear about technology has always been existed, and I
mm,
think brain structures were always the same. Like if we could bring someone from, I don't know, from the medieval era to now, they could like adapt totally in terms that their brain structures are the
mm,
same or very similar.
uh,
I will not get into the genetics and stuff like that, but I do think that the fear about that has always been in there. And I think the fact that we don't know what is real and what it's not has always existed. Like before illustration, like before the first encyclopedia was like made, people actually was controlled by religion because they just got this idea that God was, you know, the one who was controlling everything. And with the encyclopedia, like everybody started learning and thinking different.
mhm.
So what I mean with that is this idea that what is real or not has always been, even in like the more philosophical like thinking since
Yes.
always. So coping with it, I just think what's going on, it's not that people cannot cope with technology. I think we are not developing enough skills to cope with it just because it's going too fast.
Too
That's it.
fast. So are
It's
we
not that we're
being
not capable of it. It's just
yeah.
like we need to find a way to keep up with the way or how fast technology is going on. I don't know. I'm just getting a little bit lost right now.
No, I no, absolutely agree, and I think maybe is it also because we're being bombarded all at once with too much information, right? Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
don't know.
that's true. Oh, well, I was thinking with my students, and the same way I'm talking with you. Sometimes I just like get lost in my classes. And before, what is used to be called the cátedra, which is when the way teachers will just teach. Before they would just be in front of the students and they just read the book because they didn't
Ah,
have books.
yes.
And now we're getting into this time where like statisticians just said trash in, trash out, which means we have so much research that
Mhm.
it's not as high quality as before.
Ah,
So I don't really know. Like before was a little bit easier to be just like very knowledgeable in an area just because there wasn't too much information about it. Right now, it's more about developing a little bit of a criteria of what is important and what is not. I don't know. I don't really know. Like when I was growing up, I didn't have too much hope in my generation because I'm a millennial. But I think in 2017, when we had last earthquake, like the hardest
oh,
one
yeah,
we
yeah,
had
yeah.
in
Mhm.
those years, I kind of started to realize how millennials can actually make a difference in the world. And I
Mhm.
actually think they just make me believe again, like in the joke as change order. So right now, I don't know. I think I have been isolated too much in my work in academia, so I don't really have a wider opinion about it. But I don't know. It's like we are at the end, we're just animals, and I have this evolutionary point of view, and I think we will find a way
Figure it
to
out.
cope with it. Exactly. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think maybe the difficulty is I think so for example, all of us, sitting here, right? We can look at like let's say you're on Instagram, right? There's tons of negative stories after negative stories, right? But we're adults, and so I think even though it can impact us, maybe um cause us to think more negatively. I don't think maybe it would impact us as much as like young kids, like in their teens, because they're not mentally developed,
Oh,
right? Hmm.
yeah, well, that's true. That's true. And I think that's why you should take care of what they're looking at.
Hmm.
But even with us, it will take a toll on us. Like one of the things that you should do when people is like in an emergency situation, like or in a disaster situation, is just like take care of how much they are exposed to media. Not because knowing the truth is bad, but the way like media, just like make
Yeah.
things bigger or make things more tragic. I think that's one of the problems. But like you are more into sales, and you know that.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, that's interesting because I don't know if I ever sent them to you. You were talking about this before with the languages, right? So one of the things I've done for a long time is try to emulate actors with their accents when I'm reading books out loud,
Yeah.
right? So like for example, with Spanish is when I think probably the first, 4 or 5 years, I was really doing this a lot. Uh, one of my favorite actors as a kid. Do you remember the movie Desperado by chance?
No. Have you said
My
it?
You said,
Okay.
yeah, with Antonio Banderas, Steve Buscemi, and of course Salma Hayek. Uh, but so my brother introduced this movie to me when I was a young kid. But so, anyways, when I started learning Spanish, I came up with this idea. I was like, I'm gonna try to read, but pronounce like he does, right? So I'd watch interviews with Antonio Banderas. Another one was Benicio del Toro, who's from, different from Puerto Rico, and then director Alejandro Inarritu is from Mexico. But so one of the people when I started French that I started emulating is actually an American that spoke French, but a famous actor is Marlon Brando. Do you know
Oh
who
yeah.
he? Yeah, Marlon Brando. and real famous. And so he spoke French and spoke pretty dang well. And so it's fun. I'd practice, you know, emulating him, how he's speaking. But what's interesting is he had interviews, you know, I don't know if it was back in the 70s or something. And he'd sit with the interviewer, and he'd do it in English. I'll send them to you. It's interesting because of what you're talking about how media creates a certain idea to you. Well, what he pointed out, he would say to the reporter, he's like, "Why are we doing this?" He's like, "See, we need to tell the viewers that you guys are actually selling something to us, right? It's something it's information that's been prepackaged, and people don't see like what's going on behind the scenes. People just see what, you know, like the information they're receiving, but they don't realize like the intent behind the message being delivered, right?" And so I thought this was really cool because this was like back in the 70s. Yeah, I'll send you the videos. But yeah, so like absolutely in sales, you know, I've taught my son already. There's a sales book. There's two really good books that I've read for a long time. I've had them probably over 10 years. One of them is a sales book that shows you how marketing the marketing techniques that they use that are really deceptive to sell you on things. And it might be also politicians and things of that nature, or it might be media or a car salesman, right? And this book teaches you all those methods. So I've shown that to my son. And then there's another great book called Sleight of Mouth. You know NLP, neuro linguistics programming. Are you
No.
familiar with it? No. So
I am, but I don't practice any of that.
no. Well, it's
That's
interesting.
not my area, so I'm gonna move from here.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because it deals with like media reframing, cutting short videos out of big videos to create a different, you know, message that's not really, it's taken out of context, you know.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think you're right, you know, 100% about, you know, it's being sold to you, you know. So yeah, that's interesting. So okay, could you what were you saying? So as far as you working with HIV patients right now, right? You were saying that a lot of them will have depression issues or have what? How did you say?
Well, first of
Are there?
all,
Mhm.
I think we should talk about how, or well, main population in Mexico who has HIV are gaming, because the way it is transmitted. So first of all, it's kind of hard for them just to live in such a machista community. It's really hard for them to get out of the closet. So
But can you tell everyone what machista means?
how can you translate that?
Macho.
Yeah, macho. Like here, I guess the popular term now they say here is the toxic masculinity, right? Have you heard of this?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
But so HIV patients in general, just because they have to get through getting out of the closet and fight with the stigma of being homosexual, like they already have all those issues that just like sum up. And then when you get like just like the diagnosis, usually people will have what is called an adaptive syndrome, which is you get a notice and then you will start having problems to adapt to this new reality you have to live on. And basically the syndrome is like you will have either anxious or depression symptoms associated with the fact that you just got the notice. And the differences between this and post-traumatic stress disorder is that you don't have like flashbacks, or you don't remember the event. So this is just like something that changed your life, but in a different way that it will like another type of bad experience with you. So yeah, they could have that. And you know, like in general we can have like any other type of mental health issue like OCD or bipolar disorder, just because statistics, like people have that, and then you can get HIV, and then, but yeah, basically it's hard for that.
what do they say is the likely, do you know, like percentage wise, if there's a percentage, what is the likelihood, like let's say a person gets HIV, that they're going to have this diagnosis of having like this depression?
Okay, I don't remember the name, but it's something like in general population, I think if the depression rate is like 40%, HIV people will have 60% of them are likely to develop mental health issues. So we don't really know why, because that's what, well, before when I started this job, I did like a huge research background about that. And there are many factors. We cannot say why, but it's more likely they will have depression, either for the diagnosis, the fact that they have to fight with the stigma or being gay and then have HIV, or just the medications or the treatments, comorbidities, all that just piles up, and it's kind of hard to tell why. But we do know there are more people who will get mental health issues in that population.
That's interesting. Do you know, can you give a good explanation, by the way? You know, I don't, you know, I can't really recall offhand, but what is the difference between HIV and AIDS? What is the difference?
HIV is the virus, and you can have the virus and you cannot develop an infection. I will say, like, I have the virus and it lives in my body, and I get tested and I know that I'm sick because I got tested and I know I'm sick. And then AIDS is the last stage of it. So basically right now, the criteria to know what to have AIDS is you will have a very low immune system response. Usually it's assessed by what it's called CD4, which is one type of the type of cells we had in the immune system. So it's below 200. Usually the regular count per millimeter of blood, it's 700 till 1,200, something like that. So basically, three criteria are: you have HIV virus, you have a very low immune system, and then you will have what it's called an opportunist infection, which basically is you're sick of something else. Because your immune system is so low, you don't have anything to take care of you, to protect you. And you can have a flu, you can have a new infection, syphilis, anything. That's when you were declared to have AIDS. But the amazing thing right now is that medication right now, it's so good.
It's advanced, so right? Yeah.
That people can just live a regular life. And I usually talk to my patients and I tell them, well, like 3 years ago, this new virus like appeared. And we didn't have COVID before. And in those 3 years, scientists developed ways of testing it, the way that we can actually go to the pharmacy, to the drugstore, and to just get tested and have a result in 15 minutes. They develop medications to take care of it, and they develop vaccines. So imagine what they have done to take care of HIV, which is like, has been in the world like for years. Yeah. So basically what's going on is that medications right now are really effective. They are usually very easy to take. Usually they take one pill. They will have like side symptoms during the first couple of weeks. They're usually just fatigue or tummy issues, but after that, nothing. You can live a regular life.
So there's no, is there any known side effects to is it pills they're taking? Or yeah, it's pills. Do you know if there's any known side effects, like longer side effects to these pills?
Yeah, like any medication, even what you will have for tummy issues, you will get like either liver and kidney issues, like any other medication.
Well, I know I like my wife tells me when I have a headache, she's like, take an ibuprofen. I'm like, hell no. All right, I take a Tylenol, and I'm like, no.
I know.
I need to drink water. It's most likely I'm dehydrated, and fight first, because the Tylenol
is like medication.
No, I don't. I'm not a fan.
Well, But what clinics do, these patients have regular mental health assessments. So as soon as they start developing some like liver or kidney issues, they can get them treated.
They can detect it and treat it.
Actually, right now, and I don't want to be rude, but right now, some patients take this route. So having HIV you will have less side effects than having diabetes.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah. Even better, now we have medications like the pill of the day after you take to avoid getting pregnant.
Yeah.
Right now we have medications that you can take in between 7 to 2 hours after you get in an unprotected relation, sexual relation. And you will not get sick.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wait. So you take, so you take the day after pill and then you take that.
No. Like I was doing like just the similarity. There are treatments that it's called prophylaxis post-exposition, which could be used for anything, like either people who have been raped and who doesn't really know if the other person had AIDS
or anything.
or HIV. Yeah. People who just like had an accident, like the condom broke, you can go get those pills. You will take them for a month. And even if the other person had HIV, you will not get it.
You won't get it. Wow. Yeah. That's fascinating. And that's really interesting.
So it's used everywhere. I'm pretty sure that if you look into your local health services, you will find it. Because the idea was to eradicate HIV by, I think, 2030.
Okay, wait, let me ask you this real quick.
Yeah.
Because I wonder how many people know about that. That's pretty interesting. What if, like, let's say, God forbid, a woman got raped, or let's say, even like you said, the condom broke, right? And you said if they take it right away, but what happens if for some reason they wait like 3 months? Can they still take it? No, it won't work.
No, it won't work. It has to be in between the first 3 days after, like a day after pill, in the first 3 days after the sexual contact. But remember that, like right now, HIV test will only tell you, like, they have a 1 month window. So if you got HIV today, you will not know, or like the test will not show up until 1 month after that. So usually these people get tested as soon as they reach like the health services, just to know if they had HIV before. And if they didn't, they will have the medication, they will not get it. And they will get tested after a month just to make sure they didn't.
Wow, that's an incredible advancement. That's the first I've heard of this.
Yeah, I know. Me too. When I started here, it was like, what?
Wow, I mean, that's powerful. Well, so, okay, just to clarify, so they take that medicine, right? And then it prevents them from getting HIV. So after that, though, they don't have to take the medicine again?
Yep, unless they have another unprotected.
Again. Well, I wonder. Now that's the next question, actually. So, okay, boom. Okay, let's say they did that, and then let's say for some reason a year from now, I wonder if there's any studies on this. If it happens again and they're worried about it, can they take the pill again and it will be effective or no? What do you think?
Yeah. Actually, okay, so I'm really open.
Sure. Yeah.
These medications are, of course, they started because of situations like rape or like emergencies. But right now, like, what we are trying to do is to make people just more aware of being healthy. It doesn't really care what you like in bed. So some people just don't like wearing condoms. That's it. And some people just deal with their everyday problems in that way. So what they are doing is they create this thing that is called prophylaxis, pre-exposition prophylaxis, which is the same. Like you don't like to wear condoms and you like to enjoy your sexuality and that's it. Then you can take these pills every day and you will not get infected.
Wow.
Just like I'm using this, like there's similarities between like the pill. So woman will take the pill every day to avoid getting pregnant.
Sure, yeah. Mm-hmm.
These guys or women can just have these pills every day to avoid getting HIV. And you just need to get into the protocol. Most people are just like people who are partners with someone who has HIV. Mm-hmm. And they want to get protected about it. And they don't like to wear condoms, or they just want to be more, safe about it.
Yeah.
So right now, like, I think what's going on is like a huge opening of the mental health services to anyone. So actually, you just said I didn't use condoms because I don't like them, but I have this high risk situation. They would give you the medication. That's absolutely, in Mexico at least, it's absolutely free.
Well, I honestly, and part of it is because, I'm a bit ignorant on the subject. I don't, this is the first I'm hearing about it. So I don't know about like if it's available in the US. I don't know.
I think it should be, because this is like a whole, like the whole world.
Like worldwide.
Yeah, that.
What did you say?
WHO.
Oh, World Health Organization.
Yeah,
exactly. Okay, got you. Okay.
The idea was the general idea, like in the world, was to eradicate HIV. So all those programs started to show up because of that. So I think this is something bigger than just like Mexico, because I have had patients from Colombia and from Honduras who just came here, and treatment is free and it's available for anyone. Sometimes it's just like we don't know about it.
Well, didn't Africa, for example, didn't Africa have a huge problem with AIDS outbreak? I don't know if it was HIV or AIDS or both.
Both. And it's very interesting because in Africa, most people will get it from birth.
Oh, okay.
Women will get it, and when you breastfeed your kid, that's what, like, the virus could be either in the like blood, that. Sure. Then you have semen, vaginal fluid, and then you have breast milk. Yeah.
Breast milk, yeah.
So most, like, a lot of kids in there, like the rating, it's very interesting because in Africa, the highest rate of people who have HIV, it's women, and then the kids who get it from their moms. So I think in there, it's very different the way people get it than in other parts of the world. Many people just think it's because gay men get it and they're gay and they're gonna have HIV, which is not the real truth in Africa.
Let me ask you that though. So okay, so that's what I was wondering. Is so you said initially, like when you're talking about Mexico, right? For example, you said it's predominantly with gay men, right? But so why do you think it is with? You said it's predominantly with women in Africa.
Yeah, that's how it started, actually.
Oh, really? So that's interesting. Okay. Do you know any idea why that is?
I have no idea, but I know the facts. In the way it is transmitted, it's either with blood transfusions. Actually, the virus is like, how do you call it? I don't know, when it deaths with air.
Oh.
Anaerobic.
When it goes airborne, you mean, or?
No. Yeah. The virus, that's like, it cannot be in contact with air. That's why.
Yeah. Okay. So it dies. It once it goes airborne.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if someone just like pinches his like hand and there's blood, and you touch it,
you're like, good. Oh, yeah. Okay. I didn't know that actually.
No, and this is something really interesting because many people is just so depressed because they're so scared of, you know, getting their families infected. And it's like, it's not gonna happen unless you have sex with them or unless you give them blood, which is very unlikely.
Or breast milk, like you said, for kids, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, women who have HIV can have kids. They just need to be born not by natural.
By
Oh,
C-section.
C-section. Ah, I see. Okay.
And they cannot breastfeed.
Mm.
When you're talking about sex, well, for women, it's way easier to get it. Because you have, like, if you have the semen in you, like, it's just gonna spend like,
Oh, hold on one
you
second.
know,
Hold on one second. I think my I want to make sure we don't get disconnected here. I have a VPN, right? And you know VPN is, right?
no.
Yeah,
Oh.
virtual private network. But I don't usually have it connected when Zoom's on because sometimes it can kick you off, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But okay, so sorry. What were you saying?
I forgot, sorry. So
But
actually, okay, what's going on, it's like during sex, there's no air in there. So although it's just stayed in your body, so there's no chance that you will, you know, get in contact with the air and then kill the virus. So usually it's between gay men because they do anal sex. And what's going on is that that's not prepared for pregnancy. So it's very likely that you just like get
tears or whatever, yeah.
And yeah, that's why it is like more common in between gay men. But women are more likely to have it, and it's very unlikely for a woman to give it to a man because
Oh, really?
the quantity of like
I
vaginal
see.
fluid that you have to give him, it's very like you need like half a liter of that has to get into the urethra, which is very uncommon. Women can get it to you though if you have but like anal sex with them.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's the same thing. That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
So real
So
quick, what was the name of that medicine that you were talking about for just so people know, right? What was the name of the
so
medicine?
I can send, well, I will give you the name, but I can send you
Oh,
also
I'll
some
put
links.
people watch.
So
I'll include it in the link.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's called prophylaxis, pre-exposition prophylaxis.
Mhm.
You are doing it before, like the pill you take like the pill women take every day just to not get pregnant. And when they already have the sex event and they don't wanna, like they wanna
Risk.
be
Yeah.
protected about it, yeah. That's called prophylaxis, post-exposition prophylaxis, and it's called PEP and PrEP. I'm gonna text it to you.
Okay. So let me, while you're doing that, let me ask you, as far as, okay, so they take it, right? Do you know, like, what is the success rate? Like, is it certain that it's going to prevent it, or is there a
Yeah, it's
certain?
certain.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, what's going on with this is this medication will like create a barrier on the cell so the virus cannot get in, and the virus will die before the month is completed, and the cell will, like all the cells are going to be protected for a month. So even the virus is in your body, it will not get into your cells. So of course, like it's wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's incredible. I mean, that's amazing. You know, I think it's especially like really incredible for you said, like you said, for women, like if they get raped, you know, God forbid.
Oh,
Uh,
honey, not only women get raped.
well, men too.
You will be
Yeah.
surprised.
Really? Well, I know, but you know, kind of that's what we always think, right? I don't even know what the percentages are like, but I would imagine it's much higher rate for women, right?
No,
What?
I don't know. I mean, at least it's more common for them to ask for help.
Oh, so
Because
men
this
don't ask for
culture,
help.
yeah.
I see. I see. That's interesting. You know, I've heard that before, but I didn't think about that as far as, you know, statistics?
I think with health in general, like usually if you see statistics, women will have higher depression statistics, like higher rates.
Sure.
But then you see suicide rates and men are higher.
Much higher. Yeah.
Yeah, that only means that, well, they
Women ask for help and men don't.
exactly.
There you go. Perfectly said. That's true. Wow. Yeah. I mean, man, I never thought about that actually. That's interesting. I've read that before about like, men that have been raped or, even as a kid, that, don't want to talk about it, obviously, and I don't blame them, but, again, that's interesting. Like you said, it kind of skews the numbers then because we don't know what's really going on,
Mhm.
man. Wow. I mean, I'm just blown away. I didn't even know that
You're thinking,
existed.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, it's something I want to look into and more, something that I had no clue about, That's
Yeah,
fascinating.
there are a lot of things that you don't really know until, like, for me, for example, I do have like, I have this PhD in psychology, but there's a lot of things about psychiatry and mental health that I just didn't know it existed, like
Mm.
didn't know.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I think one we share in common, it's like we're just learning stuff all the time.
Yes.
And I think, I don't know, you will never get tired of it because there's always something new to learn, right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, and that's like I think I've told, like I shared with you already, like I'm taking forensic psychology right now, and even in the other class, social psychology. It's fascinating. We have these discussions, and it's great because then, by speaking to other people in the field, you get to really see, like you just mentioned, this pill I had no clue about, and many of the details of what people struggle with. It kind of opens the doors, but you see, like and psychology is such a broad
Yeah.
subject. Like, that's cool. Yeah, what was your PhD in?
It's in psychology and behavioral neuroscience.
Oh, okay, behavioral neuroscience. Excellent. Okay. And so, um, when you first started out, to kind of go back, when we were first talking and you're helping me with my Spanish, right? I know that you had been working, like you said, with people that were speech impaired, but like from injuries, right?
Yeah, even stroke or like accidents or tumor, stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. And so what was that? Is that pathology? Or what would that be considered like? What were you
Oh,
studying? Mhm.
aphasia, that's the name of it.
Aphasia. Okay.
The loss of language after brain injury.
Aphasia.
But
Okay.
that's more like a neurology topic, right? Like
Yeah.
that's neuropsychology actually. So it's
Yes.
more like in the neurology side of it, and right now I'm just getting into more like the psychiatric side of like the relationship between psychology and
Like
psychiatry.
clinical psychology right now.
Exactly. Yeah, and I've been scared so for so long about that, and look at me now.
Well, so why were you scared about it? Let me ask you.
I don't know. I just never thought about me being like a clinical psychology and giving actual therapy to patients. That's not how I fear my life will be.
Yeah.
But it's very rewarding, and I'm learning a lot actually.
I'm sure. Well, like you said, especially after it, without going too deep into it, with the pandemic, it's like shutting down the economy really, really wreaked havoc on people's psyche, like marriages, divorces went through the roof, depression, and so forth. So now people need more help than ever, So that's cool that you're diving into clinical psychology now.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Yeah. There's always something new to learn. As you told me, like psychology is like so broad. So
Yeah, did I share this guy? He's like super famous. I'll say now because I just learned about him maybe like a few months ago. But I mean, he gets like millions of views. He's on every channel. He's a neuroscientist. His name is Andrew Huberman. I think is how you say his name, Andrew Huberman. Did I send you his video?
I don't think so. No, I
Right,
don't
he's
know.
got tons of really cool videos that I've watched a little bit of them. I've been meaning to dive into them. But he really goes into like all kinds of things. Like he talks about the effects of dopamine, right? And like how, and going back to social media, right? Dopamine hits. Like you got to get likes from people. If not, why aren't people liking my stuff? Do they not like me? And so forth. So he talks about, dopamine, how we get, basically, a reward system.
The
Right.
reward system,
Yeah,
exactly.
and it come from porn as well. He talks about a lot. Like, I haven't really watched too much of those videos yet, but he, from what I've seen, he talks about the dangers of porn, right, and the effects of that dopamine hit, and how it can really cause a lot of issues.
Yeah, well,
You know,
the reward system, it's actually like something that like this pleasant sensation you will have every time you get one of your needs met, like when you're eating food, when you're doing exercise, when you're getting a hug from someone you love. But addictions actually what do is like they create is either they work in different levels. Either they will make you produce more dopamine, or they will make you like trying to make the receptors shut off so you can actually catch up more dopamine in that interchange between neurons. And I actually were talking earlier about addictions, and he was telling me about this like study with it. Like, you tell that because you're
With the mice.
yeah.
Yeah, they have mice in the cage, and if you put a solo mouse in a cage and you give them two water bottles, one is laced with cocaine, one is just straight water, they'll go straight for the cocaine every time. But if you
huh?
put them with other mice and things to do, like little wheels, and give them other things to keep them busy, they'll stay away from the cocaine. They'll only drink just the normal water, and it
Mm,
just speaks to them wanting to have connection and activity and stimulation, right? And connection.
So basically, that's how addiction works. So
yeah.
addiction either it is to any behavior like the likes hit, or like porn, or like smoking, drinking, anything. You just kind of like that's why. Well, I think at least, or I agree with the idea that actually addictions are not like something related to the substance. They are more like a psychosocial problem because people are not getting enough from the
Yeah.
environment. They don't have real connections, and that's why it's easily just to get trapped in any addiction. Because why? That's one of the things that gives you that hit of
That hit.
dopamine. Yeah, that you actually are not getting by either having real personal connections, doing exercise, sleeping well, and getting, I don't know, just self-motivated by what you're doing in your job, or the way you're, I don't know, creating your whole life. So actually the way I kind of try to work with addictions is that way.
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
when a little bit about those new research about using psilocybin just to treat addiction.
No, I don't actually. What is it?
You know about that?
Yeah.
Okay, they use like smaller doses of
Hallucinogenics.
yeah,
Hallucinogenics. Okay. Yeah.
to lose.
Oh, microdosing.
Yeah, that.
Micro. Yeah. 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 I've heard of microdosing. Yeah, that's correct.
So I don't really know how they work. Either they will help with the physical need of the addiction, but actually what I think is you need to go wider, because there's something outside that is not going on well, like in your life in general.
Yeah.
So you get trapped by this because this thing makes you feel better because there's something going on
Something
outside.
going on
Yeah.
outside of yourself. Well, and that's interesting because like going back to that mice experiment that you were talking about and what you were just saying, Christina, brought to mind. So I have like my best friend growing up that was going through struggles, right?
Yeah, I
And
know.
what I told him was, I said, this popular saying, but it's true, and I think it's really relevant to what you're saying is idle hands are the devil's playground, right? Meaning if you have nothing to do, if you have no purpose, first of all, right? If you have no purpose, you can end up getting into some really bad things, bad situations. That's why a lot of like kids, you got to keep them active, right? Get them into sports, things of this nature. Otherwise, they can get into drugs and really go downhill. Um, and it happens with adults too. If you lose your purpose in life, or if you don't stay busy, um, you know, the same thing, you'll go to that wrong bottle, right?
Yeah, and for teenagers, which is when most addiction starts, it's because they're getting this struggle between, starting to create their own identity. And then you have peers, which will affect decision making in the brain. So there are a lot of risk factors that just make them so vulnerable to develop like addictions. But in general, I think, well, kind of like that study with the rats kind of give me another like shift of how you should be working with that. Here in Mexico, it's very common for people to just get like brought by their families into this, what they call granjas, which are just places where there are a lot of alcoholics. They just have them locked. Sometimes they don't even have like a doctor in there. And the problem with that is people just died because they haven't eaten in days. Alcohol is the only sugar income they have. They just take it that way and they just die because they haven't been fed in weeks or days.
Wow. These are called granjas?
Yeah. And I have had patients who have been like in any institution and they have taken any type of drug. And especially this guy, he was in jail for 20 years and the only way he just stopped having crystal one day. And he was sober for like 5 years. And then he went out of jail and he had a lot of struggle with, become a functional person
in society, yeah.
And then he's actually right now dealing again with just the addiction. It's really hard for him.
That's horrible. Yeah, it's difficult, like, friends that have been addicted to some of the worst drugs, right? And it's just like if they don't have the proper help, even with the proper help, the odds are stacked against them, because these drugs are so powerful, but yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because then a lot of people don't know, like you said, now, the importance of, for yourself, clinical psychiatry is like you're able to give people a support system, but a lot of people don't have that support system.
Exactly.
So it's difficult. Like even soldiers is a huge problem returning home. In America, we've been at war for ages. With PTSD, they don't have the support they need. And so the suicide rates are extremely high, which is very sad.
Yeah. Then this is, well, my position about everything. It's about the brain and anything. So actually like work and trauma, because it's like a huge deal of changes in your brain. And you can see them, you can see their faces and they don't look like the people they were before.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually like
it completely changes them.
Yeah, like in a very deep level. So I don't know. US love to do the war. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's I think there's some people making a lot of money.
Yeah. Right? Don't talk about politics. I get really upset.
No, I agree. No, and I think I've actually learned I try not to talk about it much anymore either. But no, so well, Christina, I want to tell you thank you so much. Thank both of you for being here. I appreciate it. This has been fascinating. I think it's really cool. I think man, I think a lot of people actually in America might find this interesting because, like I said, I had not heard about this. So I wonder how many people really know about this, that drug that you were talking about, to
I'm
help
gonna
them.
send you the links and maybe some information from
UHO.
that.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, so everybody can know about it, because when I learned about that, like actually like in my clinic, they were like, we just shouldn't be talking about that. And I'm like, why no? Like because sometimes it's like, well, they will start just like sleeping around and coming back here for medication. And it's like, yeah, well, that's the idea.
They're gonna sleep around anyway.
They want to sleep around anyway. It's better
Yeah.
to just take care of them, and like
Yeah,
the other
that-
person they
that's the difficult thing, right? Because you have both arguments. People are like, well, then this is going to encourage people to have, you know, these type of you know, actions.
high risk behaviors. But I think if they're
Yeah.
I truly think that education can be a very good, powerful like
Sure.
thing. So I think the more you know and the more aware you are, you will be taking better decisions, because most people just like sleep around because they didn't know they can get it.
They have no clue. Yeah, and then
Exactly.
because they don't know now, then they're screwed later on.
Yeah, and actually they get it, and sometimes it's just like they think they're gonna die, so they don't take care of themselves then.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I don't know, I would rather be extremely real and crude about things that just
Yeah,
like trying to make up things.
for sure.
That's just my position. I'm sorry.
No, don't be. I completely agree. Well, no, thank you so much for doing this. It really means a lot to me. It's really cool hearing from you, especially from you know, your expertise in psychology, and you know, I know that you have a lot more knowledge. You know, so we'll have to do this again in the future. There's so many
Sure.
subjects to talk about. You know. Well, yeah, thank you all very much. And for everybody watching, subscribe, like, share this video, but also comment below. Let us know your thoughts, what you think. Thank you, Christina. You'll have a great night. Okay. Take care, my friend.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.